introduction of some of the important practices. We are not going to study all 34 practices in detail in here in foundation. We are going to study only few practices, but for the sake of understanding, it is important that we all at least know what those 34 practices are. So let's see. Yeah. So we have the list of those 34 practices. Out of these 34 practices are bucketed into three buckets, three groups. The practices which lie outside the core service management area, like project management, like risk management. There is enough and more documentation available for those practices, which is not in ITIL. So for those practices, we roughly put it in a bucket called GM practices. General management practices. These are not specific service management. These general management practices, 14. Then there are practices which have been core to service management, right from ITIL version 1, ITIL version 2, ITIL version 3. These practices have been here all the time. ITIL always worked on, ITIL always wrote about, ITIL always advised on those practices. Those are called service management practices or SM practices. How many are there? 17 service management practices. And then there are few practices where the technology advancement, where the technology becomes the mainstay, the core of those practices. Technology dependency is very high on those practices. We call them TM, technical management practices. So 14 GM practices, 17 SM practices, 14 general management practices, 17 service management practices, and 3 technical management practices. Let's look at the list. Please remember, not all the practices that I show on the next slide are going to be a part of your syllabus. They are not part of your syllabus. Only selected practices, that to a very high level, is a part of your syllabus. But we'll see those in detail anyway. So this is the list of general management practices, and the list of service management practices, and the list of technical management practices. Let's see. Architecture management. Have you heard about this architecture management?
Yes.
Can someone tell me the framework which is used for architecture management?
Like whenever we have a new requirement, that what architecture we are following, that what is the software,
Have you heard
hardware.
about the term called enterprise architecture?
Yes.
Have you heard about the framework called TOGAF?
Yes.
Okay. TOGAF is the framework which helps you manage the enterprise architecture management. Continual improvement. Continual improvement is everywhere. Even in project management, we talk about PDCA. Right? So continual improvement is a generic concept. Information security management. What is the standard related to information security that you most probably know?
ISO 27001.
ISO 27001, correct. Knowledge management, measurement and reporting, portfolio management, organizational change management. Anyone knows the expert into organizational change management? Have you heard about John Kotter theory or Kotter's arc transformation theory? Okay. Project management. Any framework you know for this practice? Project management?
Yes.
PMP, Prince 2.
Right. PMP, Prince 2, Scrum, Agile, and so on. Relationship management, risk management. There are frameworks for risk management, CRISC, Risk IT, ISO 31000 for enterprise risk management, service financial management, strategy management, supplier management, and workforce and talent management. Anyone knows a framework for workforce and talent management?
PeopleSoft.
Have you heard terms called ECF, European Competency Framework, or SOFIA, SFIA?
SOFIA.
Skills Framework for Information Age. Okay, those are the frameworks for competency management. You can Google it, you'll find the detailed information about it. Okay. Next, let's have a look at service management practices. Now, these must be known to you because you might be working on these practices in your day-to-day life. Availability management. Heard these terms? Uptime,
Yes.
downtime,
Yes. Site reliability.
reliability, uptime, downtime, availability percentage, 99% uptime, and so on. BA, business analysis, requirement engineering,
Yes.
capacity and performance management,
Yes.
capacity plan, capacity upgrade, capacity bottlenecks, change enablement, IT
Yes.
change management,
Yes. Feature requirement.
RFC, request for change, approval for change management, and so on. Incident management,
Yes.
IT asset management,
Yes.
asset register, asset list, asset tagging,
Yeah.
monitoring and event management,
Yes.
Yes.
NOC.
Sir,
Yes.
monitoring and event management can be a part of information security management?
Yes and no. So if you are considering SOC, Security Operations Center,
Yes,
then
yes.
it is a part of information security. But if you are considering NOC, Network Operations Center, or Applications Control Room, then it is generic.
No, because event
monitoring and
management,
event management.
SIM security information and event management, SIM, that is a tool where we can monitor and
But the
classify the
scope
events.
for that is information security events only.
Yeah, only information security events.
This one is generic. Even if your application is down, not because of information security issue, but in general down because of some other issue,
Okay.
it will be covered.
Ah.
Right? So security incidents and events
Got it, sir.
covered under information security, SOC. General all incidents and events covered under here, event and monitoring and event management. Okay.
Got it.
Problem management, heard this term, RCA, root cause
Yes. Yes.
right? Release management,
Yes.
major release, minor release, released hit. Service catalog management, heard this term,
Yes.
service catalog.
Yes. Yes.
Service configuration management,
Yes.
CMDB, CI,
Yes.
CMDB configuration update. Okay. Service continuity management, heard this term?
Yes.
Disaster recovery, continuity
Disaster
plan,
recovery planning.
BCP.
BCP. Service design, of course, we all know service design. Service desk,
Yes.
Yes.
L1.
L1 support, service desk, call logging desk. Service level management, anyone heard about this?
Yes.
SLA breaching.
Everyone. We all live on SLA, right? Okay. Service level management, SLAs, SLA breach, SLA threatened, SLA report, service due report, and so on. Service request management,
Yes.
service request, password
CRs.
resets and all.
Change request.
Password reset requests.
Okay.
Change request will be covered under change enablement.
User creation.
User initiated request, user creation, assigning a new system, assigning access, and so on. And service validation and testing. Service quality, service validation and testing. Then we go to 3 technical management practices. Deployment management, automated deployment, CI, CD. Heard this term?
Yes. Yes.
Infrastructure and platform management.
Yes.
Nowadays, all of this has gone to cloud. Software development and management, SDLC.
SDLC, SDL.
Okay, so this is the list of all 34 practices, 14 plus 17 plus 3. But we are not going to study all of these in detail. We are going to have a look at only a few. Let's go and have a look.
Vishal, before going
Yes.
further, I just want to, can you give one example on service design? Because I am unaware of
Sure.
it. Service
Sure.
design.
Sure, no problem. Have you heard about design thinking?
Yeah.
Okay, so let me take a parallel example and explain that. You want to design a connectivity service between 2 islands, or you want to design a service which enables your bank's customers to access the information about their financial information on mobile. Even before you go to actually developing the application, service design comes into picture. Service design will think about what are the utility and warranty parameters of this service. What are the utility and warranty parameters of this service? What are the constraints of this service? what is the target audience of this service, and what design language it should work on. Once that is defined, then you go to software development and management, actually start developing an application. Right? So service design happens before you go to software development, because software or that application.
Now got it.
Right? It is application development is one component in service.
Vishal, budgeting also falls under design?
Budgeting is here. So budgeting for that service.
Release management.
But there is a dedicated practice for budgeting called service financial management. By the way, one important point, these practices are not independent of each other. So there will be data flow from interlinks to others. Overlap of, so for example, change enablement practice and service request practice have overlap. Incident problem has overlap. Problem and change has overlap. Service financial management has overlap with asset management. Asset management has overlap with supplier management, and so on. So there is a strong relationship in many of those practices. Getting it?
Yeah, even if we want to know the difference between organizational change management and what about the change enablement, that is also a part.
Yes. So organizational change management is about making change in people's mind. IT change enablement is making change in IT components. And most of the time these two will have overlap. So for example, Anil, as of now, which service management tool set do you use? Remedy? ServiceNow? Which one? ServiceNow. Suppose tomorrow your CIO sends an email saying from tomorrow onwards, we are going to use Remedy. Now, this will cause a lot of heartburn to people who are already comfortable with ServiceNow, right? So upgrading or moving from one application to another application is IT change. But moving the organization from one mindset to another mindset is organizational change.
Got it.
Okay. Good. Come on. Any more follow-ups? All good?
So how is release management different from deployment management?
Okay. Release is making something ready to go live. Deployment is making it live.
Okay. So it is readiness and actual doing. Okay.
Because deployment is normally almost always nowadays automated. You put it in the code pipeline, it goes live. Deployment is automated, but release may involve actual verification that if it is ready to go live and all.
Okay.
Right. By the way, good point. In ITIL V3, can someone tell me the name of this process earlier? Earlier, the name of this process was release and deployment management. Single process. In earlier version, but because deployment is most of the times automated now, so deployment is considered as a technical management practice, and release management is still now a human intervention practice. Okay, move on.
Yeah.
Right.
Yes.
So we are going to study only high level purpose of some of the practices, right? If you want to know in much more detail about each individual practice, this is not the session. So if you are doing, say, problem management and want to ask a question, in my environment, how do I do problem management considering these constraints? We can very well have that discussion, but not at the cost of the syllabus. I will try to do justice to all the questions which come in, but for some questions I may say, okay, but you know what, this is the implementation question. Let's take it after the session. Anyway, we are open to discuss all those questions. But let me first cover what is a part of formal syllabus. So as a part of your formal syllabus, not all of what I'm going to teach is covered. I'm going to give much more information about each practice than what is expected. But I personally feel that because you guys are working on these practices day in and day out, it makes sense to explain it in a bit more detail. Okay. Information security management. When I say word information security, what is the first word that comes to your mind? When I say the word security, what is the first word that comes to your mind? Right. The word that comes to my mind is a CIA, Central Intelligence Agency, right? No.
Confidentiality, integrity, and availability.
That's correct. CIA makes security. If you ensure confidentiality of the information, if you ensure integrity of the information, if you ensure availability of the information, then your security is done. So these three are important components in security. Confidentiality, information should be available to only those who are entitled to have it. Confidentiality. Integrity, information should be in untampered, foolproof, complete form. And availability, information should be available to those when they need it. Available to people when they need it. So when you take care of these three, security is taken care of. Information security management. So in the purpose of information security management is to protect the information. What information? Any information needed by the organization to conduct its business. Information security management's purpose is to protect the information needed by the organization to conduct its business. This includes understanding and managing risks. Sorry. This includes understanding and managing risks to CIA, confidentiality, integrity, and availability. There are other parameters also. Authentication, ensuring someone who they claim to be. MFA, multi-factor authentication, and all these are the concepts you know already. Non-repudiation, someone can't deny that they took connection. Important parameters are CIA, central confidentiality, integrity, and availability. In your organization, do you have information security policy?
Yes.
Do you follow your
Yes.
organization's information security policy always?
Yes.
Yes, always.
Okay.
It's very.
You
It's
still sometimes
really-
go to office?
Actually,
Sometimes you go to office?
Vishal, frankly speaking, it's very tough to follow the policy. Sometimes, all these CISO will implement all this DLP and all.
Right.
And it is very difficult for the business teams to follow that.
For people who claim they follow their organization's information security policy all the time, if you go to office nowadays, you swipe your card, you flash your card and go in. Do you wait till the door closes behind you? How many times do you wait till the door actually closes behind you?
No.
We're talking about piggybacking.
In your information security policy, there is a physical access policy. In physical access policy, there is a statement that if someone tailgate on your card, it is your responsibility. The only way to ensure that no one tailgates on your card is after you swipe your card, wait there till the door actually closes, which takes what, 15-20 seconds. How many times you do that?
Normally, no.
Never actually. Okay, but then there are answers. So primary control, secondary control, tertiary control. Information security is a big game. We can discuss it at length later. Okay, your organization should have a practical information security policy, appropriate information security policy. We can discuss on this further. Let's do that. So if you have a new CISO who says, let's make a new stringent password security policy. All passwords will have to be alphanumeric. All passwords will be 82 characters long. 82 characters long. All passwords will have to be changed every 24 hours. Alphanumeric, 82 characters, and will have to be changed every 24 hours.
It's not a good password policy. It's not a good password
You
policy.
can only type the
You will
password.
spend half your life in resetting the password, right? And then to avoid that, you will start writing passwords on your disk. So the very purpose of password security policy is gone. Then the new CISO comes and say, oh no, let's make it simple. The people are complaining about it all the time. Let's make it simple. Let's have never expiring passwords, 4 digits, only numbers are okay.
Very risky.
This is also not good.
The other end, right? Then I can easily guess your password. Either your car number or bike number is your password, or your birth year. Okay. Fine. The purpose of information security policy, information security management practice is to protect the information needed by the organization to conduct its business. Okay. Relationship management. Relationship management. The purpose of relationship management is to establish and nurture the links between the organization and its stakeholders, the link between organization and its stakeholders at strategic and tactical levels. Strategic and tactical levels. We earlier used to call it BRM, business relationship management. It includes identification, analysis, monitoring, and continual improvement of relationships with and between stakeholders. Identification of who are your important stakeholders, analysis of the relationships, identifying opportunities to improve those relationships, and monitoring of those relationships at strategic and tactical level. At strategic and tactical level. Right? If a user wants a laptop, then relationship management will not come in picture. The call will go to service desk. Getting it? Operational relationship is done by other practices. Strategic and tactical level is done by relationship management. Getting it? Getting the difference? When CEO discusses with CIO,
strategic and tactical is more of a discussion between the top management, right?
Yes, yes. So if a CEO discusses with CIO that what is our plan for next year, relationship management is happening. If a project manager is asking for resetting a password, that's not relationship management. That's a service desk activity. The call will go to service desk. Okay. Supplier management. As we discussed earlier, you cannot do everything in-house. You will have to depend on few partners, vendors, suppliers to get certain activities done so that your business runs properly. So the purpose of supplier management practice, is to ensure organizations, suppliers, and their services and their performance are managed appropriately to support seamless provision of quality products and services. Seamless provision of quality products and services, meaning you are taking internet, you are taking licenses, you are taking hardware, laptop servers to deliver some of your services. Your customer should not be able to easily know that this service is made up of all the components which are taken from outside. It should be seamless. They should not be able to differentiate between the parts coming from outside and the parts you are delivering. You should have a seamless control on the services and products that vendors are delivering it to you. The purpose of yes, go ahead.
Hassle-free, right?
Sorry, say that again. I missed that.
Hassle-free.
Hassle-free, yes. Hassle-free. There should be virtually no difference between any activities being done by your partners, suppliers, or yourself. You should retain all the control. The purpose of supplier management practice is to ensure that the organization, suppliers, and their performances are managed appropriately to support the seamless provision of quality products and services. This includes creating a closer, more collaborative relationships with key suppliers to uncover and realize new value and reduce the risk of failure. You understand your suppliers better. You make sure they understand you better. You make sure you work together towards common improvement plan. You make sure they actually execute that plan. You make sure they are motivated enough, incentivized enough to work on the improvements, right? Because some of these suppliers are critical suppliers. Some of these suppliers have very critical dependency. You have very critical dependency on those suppliers. Purpose of supplier management practice is to ensure that organization, suppliers, and their performances are managed appropriately to support seamless provision of quality products and services. Asset management. IT asset. Do you know this IT asset term?
Yes.
Yes.
Asset. The important term, the key term here is asset. What is an asset? Anything which has financial value is asset.
Yes.
Anything which has financial value is asset. So anything which you have purchased or anything you can claim a depreciation on. I'm going a bit technical here. Anything on which you can claim a depreciation on is asset. So any financially valuable component that can contribute to the delivery of IT products or services is an asset. any hardware component, keyboard, laptop, monitor, servers, networks, whatever is an asset. Right? The purpose of IT asset management practice is to plan and manage full life cycle, complete end-to-end life cycle of all IT assets, to help the organization to maximize value. How can you maximize value? You can say next year we will not purchase 1,000 licenses because this year 300 licenses out of the 1,000 we purchased are lying idle. No one is using it. So next year let's purchase only 700. You will come to know about it only when you have a proper asset register, which are being used, which are not being used, which are under maintenance, which are assigned, which are not assigned, and so on. So maximize value. Control costs. If some employees have been assigned 2 or 3 assets, you can revoke multiple assets or ask the justification. Manage risk. Suppose you have purchased 1,000 licenses and you are already using 1,100 licenses. That means you are using 100 pirated licenses. That creates a risk. Or you are using certain server for 6 years, which is already end of life. Then that poses a risk. Only by proper asset management, asset register, you can find out about this. Support decision making about purchase, reuse, retirement of assets, and to meet regulatory and contractual requirements. In some areas, you are contractually obligated to maintain the asset register, or there may be a law about disposal of assets, about maintenance of assets. So for example, if you're operating in Europe, there is a law related to how do you safely dispose of IT components, right? Or there may be information security regulation that says no storage can be reused. So if you are giving away your laptops, make sure you destroy the hard disks, something like that. So asset register, IT asset management practice will help you achieve all this. The purpose of IT asset management practice is to plan and manage full life cycle of all IT assets. What is an asset? What is an IT asset? Anything which has a financial value is an IT asset.
Vishal,
yes.
Can I ask something? Whether
sure.
a particular application, suppose we are developing certain applications, or we have procured certain applications, whether those applications, web applications, whether those web applications will also be a part of IT asset management?
Okay, so are these applications counting towards your capital investment?
Yes.
Then yes, those are IT assets. Because for example, I purchase SAP license at the start of the year, which I'm going to use for next 5 years. Every year I can claim 20% depreciation on that. That goes towards my capital account. Hence, it is an IT asset. So this becomes a bit technical. Which capital expense is exactly considered as an asset? The thumb rule is if you have put it in your capital account, if you can claim a depreciation on it, it's an IT asset. It's an asset. IT or not is a different discussion.
Yeah.
A table is also an asset. Not an IT asset. Building is also an asset, not an IT asset. Right? Okay. Monitoring and event management. I'm sorry. The purpose of monitoring and event management practice is to systematically observe services and service components and record and report any changes in the state of those assets, of those components. You have NOC. Have you seen NOC? NOC, Ops Bridge. Heard these terms?
Network Operations Center.
Yes.
Network Operations Center or Ops Bridge.
Yeah,
you have those huge screens and people keep watching at those screens about alerts. If there is certain alert, people will simply jump onto it, see what has gone wrong, maybe raise a ticket to the relevant team and so on.
Right. They are keeping tracking on the data, what is the CPU uses and all services status.
IBM tools are there which will monitor the server utilization and send tickets also. Alerts.
Absolutely. So there are nowadays many automated tools which help you do that. Practically doing it manually is impossible nowadays because in even a mid-sized organization, you are looking at millions of components.
Yes.
Hundreds of servers, hundreds of web services, hundreds of applications, hundreds of connections, thousands of nodes and so on. So nowadays, this is done with the help of certain tools, monitoring tools. Those monitoring tools will immediately alert you. So you set rules, and if something is going beyond that rule, it immediately sends you an alert that this is exceeding the threshold or this is nearing the threshold. Look at it. The purpose of monitoring and event management practice is to systematically observe services and service components and record and report selected changes of state identified as events. The practice identifies and prioritizes infrastructure events, services events, business processes events, and information security events. Let me give you the examples of all. Infrastructure events, server utilization nearing 90%, storage sandbox becoming full, sandbox already utilized 90%. These are infrastructure events, right? Then you can have application events. This application not responding, or this application is getting slow, or this application is throwing errors, or randomly kicking out users. Applications events. Services events, services becoming slow, multiple people logging onto some service beyond the limit. Business process events, a credit card being swiped for the same amount for 3 times in a span of 3 minutes. You immediately get a call or notification for such business process events also. Right? Yes. You have swiped your card in Pune right now, and in 2 hours you go to Dubai and swipe your card, then immediately get a notification saying, hey, is there a fraud alert? So is that you? And information security events, we all know information security, denial of service attacks, multiple people trying to log in using same passwords, multiple wrong password attempts, information security events. And each event type will have a certain response. Each event type will have a certain response. What is event? Any change of state that has significance for the management of service or other CI. We'll see what is CI in the next slide. Events are typically recognized through notifications created by an IT service, CI, or monitoring tools. There are now many protocols for event monitoring, SNMP and all. You heard about this? Simple network monitoring protocol and so on. So multiple protocols are available. Many of the commercial devices now, many of the commercial hardware devices now come already with those protocols. So whatever events they put out can simply be plugged into your NOC, simply be plugged into your monitoring system. So it is easier to do that nowadays. Filtering is important. In event management, filtering is important. Yes. If you set a filter too low, you will have millions of events and you will not be able to respond to any of those. If you set a filter too high,
also will...
Yes. If you set a filter too high, you will miss important ones. You will come to know about it after everything is failed. So getting filtering done first time is not, the filtering threshold accurate first time is not possible. So you always do trial and error. You keep on adjusting the levels till the time you get the sweet spot. You have enough events that you can respond to, but not enough events that you will be flooded with. Okay. Questions, queries, follow-ups on this one?
No.
All good? Okay.
Vishal,
yes.
Can you just clarify on configuration item?
Yes. Coming up on configuration management practice or service configuration. Let me go to that slide and explain. Service configuration management. So we have discussed asset list. Asset list, anything which is financially valuable, right?
Yes.
Okay. Virtual machine, a VM that you have, is it an IT asset? Does it have financial value?
No.
But it is. But can someone go and change it without approval?
No.
Because there may be users working on it or some application running on it and so on. So any component of your IT environment that needs to be managed. This VM, virtual machine, needs to be managed. Someone has to approve it, someone has to run it, someone has to retire it after the work is done and so on. So this is a component that needs to be managed. So any component of your IT environment that needs to be managed in order to deliver an IT service is CI, configuration item. Can application be a CI?
Yes.
Can hardware component be a CI?
Yes.
Can document be a CI?
No.
Yes, yes.
SOP for server restart.
Okay.
If I change
Yes.
Yes.
it, can a cupboard be a CI? Server rack is a CI. Server rack is what? Essentially a cupboard, right?
It's CI.
It's a CI. So it may or may not be a financially valuable IT asset, right? But it will be a CI. So the practice that manages, that controls, that captures, that populates this CI into CMDB. Have you heard this term? CMDB?
Yes, configuration management DB.
Configuration management database. The practice is known as service configuration management. The purpose of service configuration management practice is to ensure that accurate and reliable information about the configuration of services and the CIs that support them is available when and where it is needed. The accurate and reliable information about configuration of services and the CIs that support them is available, which includes information about how CIs are configured and the relationship between them. So CMDB contains two types of information about CIs and information about relationships. This is connected to that, this is installed on that, this is dependent on that, this is pinging that, this is pulling data from that, and so on. All types of relationships. This is installed on that. Clear configuration item?
Thanks.
All right. Okay. And the practice which takes care of configuration items and capturing the information about configuration items is service configuration management. The purpose of service configuration management is to ensure that accurate and reliable information about configuration of services and CIs is available when and where it is needed.
So can we say all IT assets are configuration items and the reverse is not true?
For sure, the converse is not true. But the first half of the statement, we have to give it a thought. Let's see. Your organization has given, because everybody is working from home, your organization decided to give desks, working desks and chairs as a part of IT budget to all employees. Your organization has decided to give working desks and chairs as a part of IT budget to all employees. Is it an IT asset?
No.
Yes.
As financial
Yes.
value.
Financially valuable
Yes.
asset, right? You have spent some money, it goes towards your capital account.
Yes.
Is it a configuration item?
No.
Will the service be affected if you don't sit on that chair and sit on some other chair?
No.
No.
So the first half, we have to probe it, we have to give it some thought. Not sure if it is correct. So all assets are not CIs, all CIs are not assets. That is a safe statement. Make sense?
Yeah. Sure.
Yes.
Okay. Release management, yeah. Release management. We have discussed about this a bit earlier. The purpose of release management practice is to make new and change services and features available for use, ready for use. Right? What is the release? A version of a service or other CIs or collection of CIs that is made available for use is a release. Make something available for use. Now, whatever it takes to make something available for use, it may be training documentation, it could be verification of component, it could be verification of configuration. All of it is covered in release management. The purpose of release management practice is to make new and change services and features available for use. Just because it is ready for use, does that mean that you will immediately roll out to live environment? No. The deployment window may not be available as of now. The deployment environment may not be accessible as of now. Anyone worked in oil and gas? Anyone here worked in oil and gas environment? No? Okay. Anyone worked with defense services? Okay. I've worked with both for service management. And this is a specific environment. This is a specific case where the deployment, the live environment is not accessible. So you want to upgrade version 1 to version 2. Version 2 is ready. Version 2 is ready for last 2 months, but you still cannot deploy it. Why? Because the system is on an oil rig. Oil rig is 100 kilometers inside the sea, inside the ocean. And you don't have a broadband line there where you can take remote control and upgrade the application. You have to send someone to the helicopter to go there and upgrade it. And that is scheduled once in every 6 months or once in every 3 months. So release is done, deployment is not yet done. Getting it? Getting the difference? Guys, am I audible?
Yes, for sure. Yeah.
Right. So release management is making something ready for use. And then let's look at deployment right away. Deployment is, the purpose of deployment management practice is to move something, new or change hardware, software, documentation, process, or any damn component to live environment. Release management is making something ready for use. Deployment is moving that to live. Moving that to live environment. Okay. Got the difference between the purpose of these two processes, these two practices?
Yes.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. Because there is latency in people's responses, I think we are due for a break. Am I correct?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. I've been delivering sessions for 16 years now. No one has ever said no for a break in my life. Huh? Okay, let's take a quick break, quick coffee break. Let's be back. 10 minutes is fine? 15 minutes? How much do you want? 15 minutes? Okay.
Yeah.
Let's take 15-minute break. The countdown timer will be available on screen. And then we'll do a few remaining slides, and then we'll do a few questions. Okay?
Sure.
Okay. Let's be back after break. I am pausing the recording. Please remind me to resume it after we are back. Okay. So we have discussed the difference between release management and deployment management. Release management is making something ready for use. Deployment management is moving that to the live environment, moving to the production environment. Continual improvement. Remember, there is an activity in service value system as improvement. There is an activity in service value chain as improvement. And then there is a practice. There is a practice called continual improvement. There is definitely an overlap, but there is a slight difference in these three also. What you have in service value system, let me show you that. What we have here is an organizational improvement philosophy, service value system. In service value chain, we have an activity as improve. This is a specific improvement activity which happens in any of the value streams. This is a specific improvement activity which happens in any of the value streams. And how we improve, what are the actions we take to improve is in improve practice of continual improvement. The purpose of continual improvement practice is to align organizations' practices and services with changing business needs. Keep making it better every day. How do we do it? Through ongoing identification and improvement of services. Through ongoing identification and improvement of services. Service components, practices, or any component involved in management of production services. So the purpose of continual improvement practice is to align the organization's practices and services with changing business needs. And how do we do that? So there is a continual improvement model here. Continual improvement model. So we first look at what is the vision. What are the high-level objectives that we are aiming at, that we are focusing on? But looking at the high-level objectives is not enough. We have to look at where are we now? Where are we now? Right? Look at the current baselines, perform baseline assessments. Where are we today? What our performance numbers are, what our metrics are. Then have the improvement roadmap. Where do we want to be in this month? Where do we want to be in this quarter? Where do we want to be in next year? So define measurable targets. In this month, we want to improve by 8%. In next month, we want to improve by 3%. In next quarter, we want to improve by 12%, and so on. So where do we want to be at the end of this month, this quarter? Define measurable targets. Just by defining measurable targets, the work will not automatically happen. You have to build a plan that in order to get 8% improvement, what do we need to do? Define the improvement plan. So how do we get there? How do we get there? Define the improvement plan. How do we get there? The plan is ready, but someone has to act on that plan. So the next step is execute improvement action. Take action. We have decided to take these 10 actions, but someone has to take those 10 actions, right? Take action. At the end of a quarter, at the end of a month, we will check, did we get there? Did we achieve 8% improvement in last quarter? Did we achieve 10% as what we decided in last month? Right? So did we get there? And because we have to do it continuously, because we have to do it all the time, because we have to do it iteratively, the next point is, how do we keep the momentum going? How do we keep the momentum going? How do we ensure that this happens on the ongoing basis? So this is the continuous improvement model. What is the vision? We discuss business vision, mission, goals, and objectives. Here we understand business vision, mission, goals, and objectives. What is the business vision? Where are we now? We perform baseline assessment. Where do we want to be? We define measurable targets. How do we get there? We define the plan, improvement plan. Take action, execute improvement actions. Did we get there? Evaluate metrics and KPIs, achievements, and then how do we keep the momentum going? All of this is continual improvement methodology. You can apply this methodology for any damn thing. You can apply this methodology for any damn thing, right? Questions, queries?
In case the achievable targets are not up to the mark, then instead of how do we keep the momentum going? Was it not required a refinement in the current process?
So you think this cycle failed, okay? What motivates us for next cycle? How do we keep the momentum going?
Yes.
And then what is our direction? And then again, where are we now? So the cycle continues. Numbers may change, but the cycle will continue.
Okay.
Anyway,
okay.
In fact, this step, how do we keep the momentum going, is more required in that scenario. So you aim for 10% and you got only 5%. There is a high chance that people involved in that entire improvement initiative are already losing motivation, are already losing momentum. So this is more required in that scenario.
So in case the achievable target was not up to the mark, these steps remains the same.
Yes,
irrespective.
Slight modification of your environment, based on your environment, may be possible, but this is like more of a philosophy. So it is very difficult to change it fundamentally. Some steps you may not be doing on the ground. Some steps maybe you may be doing in people's mind. So it may not be visible.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. But the philosophy remains same.
Okay.
Right. Questions, queries? All okay? Okay. Next practice, ITIL change enablement. Earlier in ITIL V3, we used to call it change management, but to differentiate this from organizational change management, this practice is now known as change enablement. The purpose of change enablement or change control practice, the purpose of change enablement practice is to maximize the number of successful IT changes, by ensuring that risks have been properly assessed, authorizing the changes to proceed, and managing the change schedule. The purpose of change control practice or change enablement practice is to ensure the risks have been properly assessed, ensure that the change assessment is done, the authorization of changes is done. The authorization of changes is done, and then managing the change schedule. So whatever planned changes are, you have to manage the schedule. This is a critical process. This is a critical practice in many IT environment. So there are three types of changes which are normally seen. Normal change which goes through the proper schedule assessment, authorization. But in some cases, you can't wait for that. So you bring 10 people together for normal change. Do you know what is that group called? What is that body called? Anyone?
CB, Change Control Board.
ITIL formal name is CAB, Change Advisory Board, because there are 15 people advising their opinion about changes and one person authorizing the change. So it is called CAB, Change Advisory Board, CAB, right? But in some cases, it may be an emergency. This server needs to be upgraded immediately because there are 10,000 users who are not getting access to their service, and we need to do it immediately. So we don't have time to call those 15 people in the room. They're busy somewhere. So what do? We call it emergency change. And we simply find out 3 senior people who can authorize the change in case of emergency and get their approval, expedited approval. So we have normal change, anything that goes through CAB, emergency change, anything which goes through ECAB, Emergency Change Advisory Board, or in some cases you may say, hey, resetting a password or changing a toner of a printer or replacing the laptop for someone. This need not to be discussed in 15 people group. What's worse that is going to happen? One person may not be able to work, but the one person that is not able to work can always raise another request and get it done. So the worst impact is known and acceptable. So next time, do not raise it as a change request. Talk to your manager, get it approved and get it done. This is called standard change. Standard change, pre-approved, pre-authorized changes to speed up the process, to expedite, to make work more efficient. So you have 3 types of changes. Standard changes. These are typically low risk pre-authorized changes. They are well understood and fully documented. The impact of it is fully documented, well understood and approved first time. And then you define a pre-authorized mechanism. For this, you don't have to come to change management. You go to shift in charge, or you go to your manager, or you go to senior manager and get it done. So standard changes, normal changes, they will have to go through normal CAB, and emergency changes typically going through ECAB. Whatever changes that have been approved for next month, we will publish in a change schedule. So next month we are planning changes for this service on this day, this service on this day, this service on this day. So you can plan your work accordingly. Can emergency changes be in change schedule?
No,
it's
not
emergency. Can you plan ECAB meetings?
Sorry, can you come?
Can you plan ECAB meetings?
No.
Can you plan CAB meetings?
Yes.
So normally like once every month or once every 15 days you have your CAB meetings. The planned changes, normal changes are discussed.
Yes, this standard change, does it mean that whatever maintenance has been done for the applications and servers, those are covered under standard change?
I don't know. In your organization, do you have it covered under standard change is the question. Is the risk understood? Yes. Is the risk low? Yes. Is the impact, if it goes wrong, acceptable? Yes. Will it add any value or is there any value in discussing those changes every time it has to occur? No. Then you can very well make it a standard change.
So any standard change, whether for standard change, CAB is required or not?
No. For standard, first time when you make it, when you declare it a standard change, CAB approval is required.
Okay.
But then onwards, you decide who can approve.
Okay.
Right. So for example, I want to assign a virtual machine to a new user.
Yes.
Okay. First time, what can go wrong? What can go bad if this goes wrong? You discuss it in CAB. Next time you say, yeah, you don't have to come to CAB. every time for this. Take approval of your manager and get it done, or take approval of infrastructure manager and get it done.
Okay. So, for example, I'm just asking, in a particular bank, the core banking system is there. So, suppose lots of bugs are cropping daily. Daily, suppose some bugs are or some fields are having some junk value. For those, whenever they're doing some backend updations or anything they're changing, whether those have impact. Backend updation, if anything is done, that has certain impact. So whether those types of changes can be covered under standard change or
let's see. So should those changes be standard changes is the question. Let's see. Should those changes be standard changes? Is there a risk of core banking system be down because of some changes that you do in the backend?
No.
No. So the risk is well understood. Is there any value? Is there any additional risk? Is there any additional impact that will surface every time you discuss it in CAB?
That exactly.
Then we have to find out. And once we find out, then we can make it standard or not. We can decide whether to make it standard or not.
Okay. Okay.
So these are the qualifiers. Is the risk well understood? Yes. Is the risk low? Yes. Is there any value in discussing it every time in CAB? Depends. And based on these answers, you make it a standard change or normal change.
Okay. Got it. Thank you. Yes.
Right. Any questions? Any follow-ups?
Is there any proportion on the number of emergency changes, the number of standard changes among all the overall changes numbers?
Okay. Let's divide this question into two parts. Ratio of standard changes to normal changes, and second part, ratio of emergency changes to normal changes. So there should not be any ratio aimed at of standard changes to normal changes. You can go on making many changes as standard changes if those are well understood. As your understanding about your IT environment goes up, as it becomes more mature, you are comfortable with making many more changes as standard changes, and that is absolutely fine. No defined or recommended ratio of standard changes to normal changes. Is this part clear?
Yes, Vishal.
Now the second part. Should there be a targeted ratio of emergency changes to normal changes? The ideal ratio is 0%.
Okay, so there should not be any emergency changes at all.
Ideal ratio is 0%. But is this an ideal world?
No.
No. So it is an accepted fact that there will be emergencies. Now, do not go by the numbers. Do not go by the pure numbers. Look at the context. So whenever there is an emergency change, you will have to do that change anyway. I mean, it is emergency. So by nature, you have to fix it anyway. But after you do it, after you manage the emergency, after you fix it, then do you have a mechanism to find out whether it was a real emergency or not? Or just because someone forgot about it, now it is becoming an emergency? Just because people were not okay, or people were lazy to fill forms for change management, they waited till the last moment and raised it an emergency change. Once there is an emergency change, no one will ask questions because it is emergency. So what is the real reason for this being an emergency? You find that out. And then if it is a real emergency, it could not have been planned, it does not have dependency on people, then it's okay to have emergency change.
Vishal, this unplanned DR drill, how we can unplanned DR drill? Okay. Unplanned DR drill, whether this is a change, right? And it is unplanned. It is not notified to the business stakeholders because of security issues. And so whether it will be, since you told that ideal ratio should be 0, but here it's an emergency change.
Okay. I have my reservations as to whether it is emergency change or not. It is planned, right? It's a drill. It's planned.
Unplanned DR drill. Actually, it's there is a BCP in DR drill. As per business continuity policy, certain stakeholders are to be participating in the DR drill, right?
Okay.
Suppose they are not participating, we are doing the only limited with limited stakeholders. It is done, then that is an unplanned DR drill.
No. If it is a drill, how can it not be planned? Is my question. Everyone may not know about it.
Yes,
so out of 100 people, only 3 people knew about it. I'm okay with this concept.
Yes.
But if 3 people knew about it, then it is not unplanned. You took a conscious decision that we will not tell these 97 people because we want to know whether these 97 people are prepared enough. So I don't think this is an emergency change. It's a conscious decision.
Okay.
Right. If there is a real disaster, then it's an emergency change.
Yeah, disaster is an emergency.
But any form of drill, you do it is not an emergency change. It is planned change. Now, how many people were consciously told and not told about it is a different discussion. That depends on your organizational priorities.
Okay.
Right. Okay. Come on, questions. Nothing. Okay.
Yes, sir. So, in any case, right? In an ideal scenario, so it should be 0, 100, right? Emergency should be 0, and normal changes should be 100%.
Yes.
Correct.
But I have personally not seen any environment like that.
Input. Yeah. So, what can be the max of the practical scenario? 10%, 90%, something like that.
I have seen people comfortable with 1 to 5%.
Okay.
Ratio. But depending on what kind of business you are, like I worked with oil and gas a lot. I worked with defense organizations a lot. I worked with banks a lot. Banks, they are comfortable with somewhere around 4-5%.
Okay.
Oil and gas, they are comfortable about less than 1%. I worked with United Nations. For them, the ratio is even higher, 15-20%.
Okay.
Because by nature, their job description is responding to emergency.
Okay. Yeah. So depending on the business and the acceptance from customer.
Russia
right?
attacked Ukraine. You can't plan. So, depending on nature of business, also it varies.
Okay. Okay.
Whether the impact is also a parameter in classifying this as normal change or emergency change.
Impact should not be a parameter. Urgency should be a parameter. Impact is magnitude of the issue. Urgency is how much delay is tolerated.
Yes.
So if there is a change which cannot be delayed, then that should be emergency. But then again, always remember to probe the reason for emergency. Yeah?
Yes.
I knew that this is to be done, but I simply sat on it because I don't want to fill change management forms. I don't want to answer 10 questions. So I waited till the last moment and then made it emergency change. Now people will do it without questioning me. So all of this has to be probed. And you have seen this all the time. I've seen this all the time. Questions, queries? Proceed.
Yeah.
Incident management. We've discussed this already. The purpose of incident management is to minimize the negative impact of incidents by restoring normal service as soon as possible. Restore normal service as soon as possible is the objective of incident management. What is incident? Unplanned interruption to IT service or reduction in the quality of service is incident. Unplanned interruption to IT service or reduction in the quality of IT service is incident. So typically incident management, all incidents are reported to service desk. Then the incidents, they will try to resolve it. Service desk will try to resolve it. If they are unable to do it, they will escalate it to L2, L3, right? There is hierarchical escalation and functional escalation. Hierarchical means manager to his manager to his manager to his manager, hierarchical escalation. Functional escalation, network team to application team to vendor support team, and so on and so forth. Okay, you have incident scripts. Normally you have you heard this stuff, incident script?
No.
Standard questionnaire that people have.
Yeah, yes.
That incident script. Ask this is working, if that LED is working, if that LED is working, ask if that error is there, and then error code and so on. So you have incident scripts for various incidents. You will use
templates.
Templates, yes, templates. So
that error codes
yes.
you are mentioning, error codes, will it be categorized? All the error codes, whatever error can happen in the application, those will constitute the incident script.
What you do after that is the incident script. So, for example, error codes are given to you by application developer. If this is the error, this is the issue. If this is the error, this is the issue. So, what service desk will have? Service desk will have, okay, sir, can you please read out the error code that is on your screen? Oh, it is XXX23. Okay, sir. Now I know how to solve this. I want you to follow the steps exactly as I say. Do this 1, 2, 3, 4, and your application will be working. So these steps are incident scripts, templates. Steps to resolve common incidents.
So how is the incident script different from an SOP?
SOP is a common term, incident script is an ITIL term. That is the only difference.
Okay, both are same.
But otherwise, yeah, it's exactly the same.
Okay, okay.
Right. Sometimes organizations go even more mature and say, hey, all the error codes, put it on the knowledge portal. So let users resolve incidents on their own. Possible.
Self-service.
Look at the error code, self-service portals, yes. Users can look at the codes and get the incidents restored themselves. Self-help tools, self-service portals. Some incidents will be resolved by service desk, but sometimes they are unable to resolve complex incidents. So they will escalate it to other support team or do the routing. Incidents will have to be categorized and prioritized. Category of incident. Is it network related? Is it server related? Is it application related? Is it whatever? Category of incident. And priority of incident depends on impact and urgency. Which incident should you resolve first? Impact and urgency. High impact, high urgency should be resolved first. Impact and urgency is not one and the same. Impact is magnitude of the issue. Urgency is how much delay is tolerated. Let me give an example to differentiate between these two. You guys have payroll system? You guys use payroll system in your organization?
Yes.
Yes.
Which calculates and manages your payroll. Payroll system is down. Your organization's payroll system is down. What is the impact?
Salary will not be processed.
No one will get paid. Huge impact. Everyone will get affected. Right? What is the urgency?
If the due date of salary is nearby, then the urgency would be high. Otherwise, it can be kept medium or low.
If your salaries have been processed yesterday already, now if the payroll system is down today, then you have 1 month to restore.